Alright, Calcharo mains, listen up. You're gonna really want to do this if you want to main this character. Trust me, trust me. So what is the tech? Well, if you don't want to watch the whole last video, simply put, it's just rerolling for Jian's signature weapon. If that's all you came for, there's videos right here. You could go watch those. Anyways, if you want to see me actually explain why you want to do this, stick around. Because trust me, this is the play, baby. This is the play. First off, if you don't know what rerolling is, simply put, it's just making your account, finishing the tutorial, getting access to pulling, and then pulling maybe 1 10 pull, maybe 2 10 pulls, and hoping that you get a 5-star early. And if you don't, you just reset, go on a different account, and you do the same thing over again, right? Let's move on. So why would you want to do this? What is the reason? What could possibly be the reasons? As you can see on the screen, you can get his best in slot weapon, and I'll get into that in a second. The banners are really good for this, and you'll see what I mean. You do save your 5-star sword, the standard selector, and I'll get to that. Let's move on. Damage wise, shout out to Sydney Marr. I yoinked this. I just flipped that shit out of his video. That's his damage calculations. So if it turns out to be wrong, go to him. Not me. Also, the names are wrong here, but once again, that's on him, not me. So if you look at these damage numbers, we see here Augment R1. This is the battle pass weapon, by the way. This is not free to play. You do have to pay to get this. But Augment R1 is our baseline. And as you can see, the Jian signature that we're going to be rerolling for is the highest damage weapon that you can get without paying money. Now you can also get R5 of Augment. This is Autumn Trace, by the way. Augment is wrong name. As I said, Augment is wrong name, String Master is wrong name, but again, blame it on him, not me. but as you can see, this does outperform the Jian signature at R5. But the problem is, because it's a battle pass weapon, that's going to take you 5 whole patches before you can get that R5. And not only do you have to spend money every single patch to get it, you also have to wait a really long time. And who knows, by that time there might be a weapon that ends up outperforming even Jian signature or even Augment R5, right? So what's even the point, right? And another problem we see here is that the next free-to-play option that isn't the 5-star standard weapon, and I'll get to that, is Helios Cleaver. And even Helios Cleaver at R5, 86% damage compared to 118. I don't know about you, but I think I'd rather get that 118. Now, that's a pretty big difference, right? That's a pretty massive difference. But let's move on. Hopefully that makes sense so far. But let's move on. Right. So I said earlier the banners, and let me explain. You're going to get a Calcharo. If you're a Calcharo main, you're going for Calcharo. You're going to get him guaranteed anyways. We just got confirmation. Kuro themselves leaked it by mistake, it seems. But we are absolutely getting this, and you will be able to choose Calcharo. This banner stays there until you get the character. You're gonna get Calcharo anyway, so why try re-rolling for Calcharo when you can re-roll for something that isn't gonna be there forever? And that's gonna be the weapon. So this weapon is only gonna be available for 3 weeks, right? You won't be able to have it forever. And so that's why I believe it's better to re-roll for the weapon, because you're going to get Calcharo anyways. He's going to come home. Since it does use a different currency to pull on that banner, there is a good chance that you will not have enough of the forging tides to pull for that weapon by the time it runs out, which really doubles the whole it's better to reroll for the weapon than it is for the character. Moving on. So as I said before, when I said in the Y section, we talked about the 5-star sword. And the reason why you want to pull on the weapon banner is because ideally you don't want to be getting the standard broadsword. Because even though it's 10% less damage, which in the grand scheme of things is not that much. It's a decent option compared to getting Gion Signature, but the reason why you want to go for Gion Signature is because you don't want to miss out on getting these weapons, potentially even both, on the 5-star selector that you get, I believe, for hitting level 42. And reason being is these weapons, these standard weapons for the pistol and for the sword, as you can see, has base crit rate on them. The broadsword and all the other weapons have attack percent. And in this game, it's not easy to get crit because each piece can only give you a maximum of 40 CV, and that's if you get the highest roll possible, right? Just above 40 CV, and that's not a lot. So you definitely want to be trying to get crit from outside sources, and one of those sources is obviously the weapon. So ideally, you want to be going for these weapons instead of the 5-star broadsword. Not to mention, by the way, the Gion signature weapon also has crit in the form of crit damage as a base stat. So it's even easier going for that weapon to get good crit stats, right? So moving on. So after this is going to be some of the negatives. So there is going to be quite a bit of grind to rerolling in general. So it is going to be about 30 to 45 minutes if you don't skip and you just do the whole tutorial. Now, thankfully, you can skip, although I don't know exactly how much faster that would make it, but I do assume that it would make it a decent chunk faster. And now, if we look at the probabilities, the amount of times you're gonna reset these runs, if you do just one 10 pull, as you can see here, if you just do one 10 pull, in one 10 pull, there's a 7.7% chance of getting your 5-star weapon at least once. But that's not much of a chance. So if we take that probability and we try to make it into like a percentile form, what we see is that 50% of players will be able to get their weapon on 9 10 pulls. So that will be 90 pulls total. 90% of players will be able to get it in 22. And if you're really unlucky, you're gonna have to go all the way up to 45 10 pulls to get the weapon. Now, there is a little caveat, because this isn't exact. It's not like 9 sets of 10 pulls is 9 different accounts, because as you'd see, it's not that difficult to get Astrite in this game. And so you might end up doing perhaps 20 pulls or maybe even 30 pulls on each account before you reset, right? Moving on. Another negative that people might think of is obviously there's an event right now that allows you to get echoes, 5-star echoes, on your account before the game even releases, right? And so if you're doing this account, you can't pre-farm, you can't get these echoes before you have the account. But the reason why I say this is not that much of a negative is, first off, these 5-star echoes themselves are not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to get them in the first place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're not guaranteed to get them. And the main stat on the higher cost echoes aren't even guaranteed. So you might get a shit main stat on your like 4 cost and you wasted all that time for nothing, right? Also, you will eventually get these 5-star echoes just by playing the game, right? You can grind the game and get these eventually. Whether that takes you 3 weeks, whether that takes you a whole month, whether that takes you 5 months, whether it takes you a whole year, you will eventually get it. However, again, the banner only lasts there for 3 weeks. The weapon banner is only going to be there for 3 weeks. So you really want to get that weapon before it goes away, that you don't miss out on a really big DPS increase, right? And finally, the last reason why this negative doesn't really matter is because the event to get these 5-star echoes will still run 2 weeks after release. It will go all the way, I believe, until June 2nd or 3rd. And so you do have plenty of time to continue to get these echoes once you have that perfect account that you've already done your rerolling for. Moving on. Final negative is the tie. So in this game, the ties that are used, the pulls that are used for the limited character banner and the limited weapon banner are 2 different currencies. And the reason that's a bad thing is my assumption is that you're going to get more radiant tides, so that's the character one, than you'd get forging tides. That's my assumption at least. And so what that means is you're going to have to use Astrite on getting that weapon, when ideally you don't want to be using Astrite to get a weapon. But thankfully the banner is really good and you are guaranteed the weapon, so it's not like it's the end of the world. It is just 1 or 2 10 pulls of ass, right? It's not like it's gonna completely run your pockets dry. You'll be fine with just a little bit less into your limited character banner, because I believe you're gonna get like over 200 pulls, maybe somewhere close to 250 pulls by the end of the patch. So that's why I do believe that it's not really much of a reason to worry about. But do keep in mind that there's a very good chance that you will have to use Astrite to do like a tempo, maybe 20 or 30. And then after that, you do your reset, right? Moving on. Let's summarize now that the video is nearly done. The pros of doing this method is that you get highest damage possible day 1, right? Highest damage possible day 1 on Calcharo. The banners are really, really good for this. You're not missing out on anything by going this route. In fact, this is the only route where you won't miss out on anything. Any other route, you will miss out. Absolutely. And obviously, the 5-star selector, you get to also keep the really good crit weapons from the standard weapon selection instead of having to get that attack percent broadsword. Ideally, you keep the crit sword or the crit pistols based on who you want to play. Although I do assume you will get the crit sword for anyone who wants to play dungeon. And obviously the cons are, it will take a lot of time. There is a lot of grind to it, but you're gonna grind anyways, right? This game is kind of grindy. You're gonna grind. So there's that to it. You can't really farm the 5-star echoes before the game comes out. So you will start your run without any echoes. But again, remember, you can still get those echoes after the game releases. So it's not like there's no chance for you to get a 5-star echo. There is that chance there, right? And finally, last con is obviously the tides, right? You will have to use some Astrite. You most likely will. I don't know how many forging tides that you get during the tutorial. Maybe they'll give some, maybe, but I don't know. And I would assume that you don't get it. So there is that. That brings us to the end of this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow my ass on Twitch, because I don't get any viewers, and that shit is kind of depressing. I can't lie. Anyways, thanks for watching. Mwah.